Welcome back to Hot Wheels Hilarity. So, of course, you guys might be expecting something different, and well, in the case of the T-Rex transporter that you see right here, I introduced this guy right here way back when Season 10 was around. It was one of the first major attractions of the season that, of course, was put together thanks to some help from Streamlabs. But ever since I got out of that little business there, I decided to use the T-Rex transporter a few different times in many different ways. But as you can see here, I got two rows of cars, and that's because I do plan on using the T-Rex transporter at least one last time after I recently managed to liquidate it. As you can see here, there are in fact two groups of cars, one of which are realistics, while the other are about fantasy models. What I plan on doing in this instance of the usage of the T-Rex transporter is using its racing feature, of which that it's a two-lane raceway, which can be done by simply folding the tail out like so, and transforming it, just like that. Basically speaking, what we have here is a competition that's just waiting to be done, and probably will be the last thing that I'll do with this particular set. But the first thing I'm going to do, though, is have these cars all put together. 40 in total, 20 for each group. So 20 fantasy models and 20 realistic models will be put together to see who does better. First, though, I'm going to have them paired so that way we get a good grouping of every model equally to the set. Alright, now, so I have the transporter set up in raceway configuration. Well, minus an open door. I apologize about that. It's basically just going to be single track, as you can see here, leading to a very finish. But as for the rest of the cars, what we got here, we got all of them set up, 40 in total, with all these different groupings in mind. We have 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 20 in total. So you'll be seeing 20 races take off just in the first round alone, and then we'll wiggle it down to a good amount of racers. So that way, we'll eventually have ourselves 2 racers come together and beat the other. So we'll find out whom is one winner out of 40 in total. And moreover, if realistic models or fantasy models do better than the other. So let's get started with the Speed Blaster as well as the Dodge Viper SRT10 ACR. Put them up here, and I'll simply push this down in order to find out who wins. Basically, one car shall fall into the trapdoor here, which can be done simply by activating this trigger. Depending on who hits it first, the other shall fall through the trapdoor, and the winner will coast down to the single track below, thereby confirming whom is the winner out of 2 involved. 1, 2, 3. Okay, now, so right away, Speed Blaster takes the win, and while the Viper didn't exactly fall through, but still, unfortunately, is going to be put to the side. Because our next grouping here will in fact be the likes of Flight 03 and the Cadillac 16 concept, which is a bit long, but wow, still fits. How convenient. So, here we go. Wow. You know what? I'm going to count that as a win. Cadillac's long body did hold up impressively so. Now, we definitely get a good view of what the trapdoor itself is like. So, unfortunately, Flight 03 is out. And now we're going to have to move on to the Ford Lightning and Jackhammer as our next grouping for today. So, let's see who does it better. Would you look at that? Now we got Jackhammer joining in on the board alongside the Cadillac 16 and Speed Blaster. So another realistic model is out of here. It's kind of a shame because I do like the Ford Lightning. Considering how they also brought it back more recently as an EV, makes it even more significant today. But let's see if this next realistic model, which is a 94, or is it 96 Chevrolet Impala SS, as well as another fantasy model known as Cosmic Coupe. So, let's see who does better here. And it's Cosmic Coupe, y'all. Awesome. So, sorry for the Chevrolet. It seems like that we're getting some dominance from the likes of the fantasy side, while the likes of the Chevrolet Avalanche, which is a tuned variation, as well as High IQ, are going to be next to take both sides. Both first and second lane are going to be occupied by these two, and we'll just see who wins this time. Oh gosh. I guess that's going to count as inconclusive, since neither had passed through that segment. Both got stuck around the trapdoor area. Let's just see who does it this time. Well, I don't know. I guess we'll have to call it. The Avalanche is getting stuck while High IQ is falling through the trapdoor. So, okay. I don't know about you. That's going to be as close as to a win as we can get here. So, I kind of had high hopes for the Avalanche. Never really seen it on the track before, but looks like it hasn't done such a good job in this particular instance. On to the next grouping. We have Scion FRS in a nice bubblegum pink, as well as a nice silver Impavito 1. I love both these models. Let's just see how they do here. Alright, looks like the realistics are coming back. But with a total of 6 cars, 4 fantasies, 2 realistics, we'll just have to see how it plays out going forward. Meanwhile, with all the losers still over there, we move on to the next grouping. We have a Volkswagen Sunagon and Hot Wired. So, I'm especially hoping to see which one does better, considering we haven't seen these on the track as much either. So, what's going to happen? Volkswagen went on its side, but still does take the win. Not bad, considering this one actually has rubber tires and not plastic ones like with almost every other model I have. I also remember when I had the Double Vision, it also had rubber wheels on it. Didn't do such a great job on my tracks. Okay, this is the grouping I'm looking for. We have a Subaru Impreza, and I believe we haven't seen that one in a while, so we're just going to see who does it well. Oh, now the Subaru gains another point here for the realistic side of Hot Wheels. And now it seems like we're tied right now. We have 4 realistics and 4 fantasies, with the likes of the Cadillac, Scion, Volkswagen, and Subaru all leading up on the realistic end. So quickly we've gotten ourselves tied between both sides. But let's see who tie breaks. Crazy 8s or Pontiac Salsa, which is one of my favorite models out of all the Pontiacs. Oh! Oof, sorry Crazy 8s. Definitely one of my favorite models ever of the Fantasy series, but unfortunately the Pontiac outshines it. So that's yet another win on Pontiac Salsa's book, the first we've seen in a while. So we're going to move on. We have a nice colorful 67 Mustang GT. So not at all like the 69 Mustang that I have in a similar color scheme. And we also have Turbo Charged, which we've definitely seen it before when it was brand new in 2019. Let's just see if we can get another good win out of it. Oh, I guess luck ran out for Turbo Charged. But to be fair, it's a great performing model. So, looks like the Mustang takes it all. Colors and whatnot, it's awesome. Another colorful model I have is the 1980 El Camino, which you can see right here. Yeah, very colorful indeed. But it's also pretty long, much like the Cadillac 16. And we also have the classic Red Baron, an old legend of Hot Wheels itself. Okay, so that's yet another realistic model that makes it all the way through. Red Baron is truly a legend of Mattel itself, but doesn't make it this time. That doesn't matter though, because we have two more models that are pretty good. We have the Chevrolet Tahoe and Winning Formula. Well, it looks like that the realistic side of Hot Wheels is truly getting way better than the fantasy side. First, the fantasy side was winning. Now the realistic side definitely has a long lead with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cars in a row now. That's a pretty impressive winning streak, but still not enough quite yet. Now we have Count Muscula and the 1968 Mazda Cosmopolitan, I'm pretty sure this one is. Yep, Mazda Cosmo Sport. Yeah. Here we go. Oh, man. So, sorry, Count Muscula. Boy, it really seems like the realistic side is definitely on the winning side here. Now we got another duo here comprised of High Voltage and the Aston Martin Vulcan, which is not that recent, but still amazing. Okay, looks like we are back on the board with the fantasy side. After all these wins in a row, who would have thought that would eventually come to an end? 6 more groupings to go, though. High Roller in one lane, and the 70 Ford Escort RS 1600 in the other. Oh man. Looks like the Ford Escort barely makes it out of there. And while High Roller didn't fall into the trap, still unfortunately loses for today. So, very sorry. Now we have a 2001 Honda Civic Si and Arachnarod up next, which is also pretty long, as you can see. Barely fits into the starting lane, so maybe the Civic has an advantage here. And well, it does. Kind of moves the metal koozie out of the way as it slams right into the finish line right there. Now we got the 73 Ford Falcon XB on one lane, and another lane will be occupied by Robo Race Robocar, which is another nice model to collect. So, okay. Falcon unfortunately doesn't make it, but Robo Race does. 3 more groupings to go. In this case, we have Fastmaster in one hand and the Cadillac CN in the other. So, who's going to make it? Alright, now, we got another model on the realistic side joining in with the winners group, while the Fastmaster unfortunately doesn't. 2 more groupings to go. We have Power Surge and the Audi 90 Quattro, which is a much more recent model in hand, so nice that it finally gets itself a good chance on the track. Oh gosh, that sounded like it really hurt, so we're gonna have to restart on that one. Oh my gosh, so another loss on that part, or at least inconclusive would be my best way of describing it. So I mean, the Audi 90 Quattro's body is a lot wider, so much like the Chevrolet Avalanche, it might get stuck in that particular segment. There we go. Looks like we now have an official win here. Another fantasy side gets to go alongside the winners grouping, while 2 more models, Ballistic and the 69 Copo Camaro. Yep. You have the 69 Copo Camaro and Ballistic. Final race for round 1. Oh, and Ballistic was able to escape, but not fast enough. So, well, that was awesome. It looks like that with the majority of the cars being realistic, that means we have a very high chance of them succeeding. But with some of them being fantasy models, who knows, maybe one of them can become an underdog and actually take the win from there. Of course, with the opposite of most fantasy models having lost this particular leg of the competition, it's only a matter of time before we get to see who actually does, in fact, take the crown here. It's kind of sad to see Ultimate T-Rex Transporter not making it through much in life, but at least we can all agree we got some great memories built out of all the usage that it has generated. Now we got 10 more groupings here to work with. A good 10 races to go for the second leg of this whole competition. We'll be wiggling it down to a good 5 competitors here, in order to, in fact, ensure that with 10 racers in total, we'll sure to see who makes it through first place. First grouping out of the bunch is going to be the Cadillac CN and the 6D9 Copo Camaro. So, we'll just see who makes the win here. And the Cadillac succeeds, while the Camaro doesn't. For the second grouping, it'll be 68 Mazda Cosmo and High IQ taking the stand. Well, it looks like we have another fantasy model going, while another realistic takes the lead. Third grouping will be the Scion FRS up against the Honda Civic Si. The Scion barely rolls to the finish, while the Honda does not. Now we got another fantasy model, high voltage, having to face the likes of the Subaru Impreza. Well, I guess that will be inconclusive because neither went past that and Subaru went upside down. So, oh, well, high voltage had some luck there, managing to beat out the Subaru. So, looks like there's still hope after all. 6 more groupings, however, still exist. And now we're going to go with another fantasy model, Speed Blaster, facing against the 67 Mustang GT. We got some great colors on both these models. Let's see who makes it out first. Okay then. That right there is a good win. 3 realistics and 2 fantasies currently are on the run towards the third leg. But now we got 2 more realistics. Cadillac 16 and the 70 Ford Escort RS 1600. Whoa, okay. So the Ford goes off track, but still makes it to the finish line with the Cadillac just pushing. Not a very great way to end it all, if you will. Another fantasy model, Cosmic Coupe, goes up against the Chevrolet Tahoe. Wow, would you look at that? Fantasy side of things are really starting to fight for first place. So now we got 3 fantasy models heading in, with another 4 being realistic. 3 more groupings, however, are still around, and we're just going to have to see who does it well here. Volkswagen Sunagon versus Robo Race Robocar. Well, the Volkswagen tumbles, while Robo Race evens it out with 4 racers from each particular grouping. Both fantasy and realistic seem to be tied at this point, but now we got 4 more models to go. Jackhammer and Power Surge. So, goodbye Jackhammer and hello Power Surge. They are both fantastic models. And lastly, we'll knock things off with the Pontiac Salsa and 1980 El Camino. Well, had the El Camino stayed on track, I'm sure it would have actually gotten the win there. But the Pontiac Salsa is a true champ when it comes to Hot Wheels models that are more obscure than others. And well, with that in mind, this is the second leg, and now it's complete. So we're going to move on to the third leg here, and basically organize these racers, so that way we'll have ourselves a nice marathon to get through another leg worth of racers. We have 10 in total that'll basically be competing against one another. So we're just going to have to determine whom exactly is ready to face against each other in the upcoming finals. And so, let's just see how well it goes. So with all that, we're going to go on and do Robo Race Robocar and the 70 Ford Escort first. Okay. Pretty good start so far. And after I set the trapdoor, we're going to do Power Surge and the Pontiac Salsa. Oh man, the Salsa is just looking forward to winning this whole thing. So, not very surprised on all that. We got two more great models, Speed Blaster and Scion FRS. Well, you know what? Heck with it. I'll just count that as a win. Pretty solid for the record. Sorry, Speed Blaster. Now we're going to do the Cosmic Coupe and the Cosmo Sport. Well, let's find out who wins this one. Okay, that's probably just going to consider that as a inconclusive round because after all, neither of which have made it past that part. Okay, so we had 3 orange cars. 2 of them are already out. But that's fine because the Pontiac Salsa is there. So is Cosmic Coupe. And the last bunch we got, High Voltage and Cadillac CN. Or maybe Cyan. I don't know how that's supposed to be pronounced. Okay, so looks like we do have ourselves 3 realistics and 2 fantasies. However, unfortunately, we won't be able to do 5 here. So I suppose what we'll do is we'll set High Voltage to the side since that was the last one to be added. And we'll basically work our way till there's basically 2 models. And basically whomever gets to High Voltage, there will be 2 more that will go up against High Voltage. And they'll basically see who basically gets to go upside the finals. But first, okay, nice. The Escort basically goes up against High Voltage, but let's also see if the FRS or Cosmic Coupe get to make their way up. Well, goodbye, Scion. Pretty in pink, but unfortunately, basically got into 4th place, which is still pretty awesome considering the standards we got here. So, what we're going to do here is first we're going to go with the Escort against High Voltage. We'll see who gets to move on from that point. So, yeah. I guess we'll basically just put that as the win there for High Voltage. So, basically that was 1 out of 2, and since High Voltage just got a 2nd win there, that means that the last leg is over, and we're now on to the finals. Let's do best out of 3 here. Whomever makes it to the end 3 times gets the win. Alright, Cosmic Coupe gets 1 point on the board. I'm going to switch lanes here, and we'll see if we can get a 2nd point, either from Cosmic Coupe or first from High Voltage. Well, already got 2 points, so High Voltage is going to have to step up. Well, ho! And with that, Cosmic Coupe is the winner, and High Voltage trails right behind. So that's pretty impressive when you think about how the odds were stacked up against the fantasy models. How many realistics managed to make it all the way to the 2nd leg alone. And now that the fantasy models were able to overtake a majority of all the realistic models here, that's still pretty amazing. It just goes to show that the fantasy models truly have some underdog powers that we hadn't noticed before. But anyways, this was a nice showcase of 40 models, some of which that you hadn't seen before on the track, and others you hadn't seen in a long time. I know some people have been itching for models like the Pontiac Salsa, Cadillac CN, Flight 03, and Winning Formula to be around HWH, and I'm more than glad that I was able to satisfy those people's desires to see them again. And moreover, for other models that we haven't seen in a while, like High Voltage and Cosmic Coupe, with the material that I've been focusing on more towards newer models as well as newer sets from newer series like Racerverse, eventually I would have had to come back here to this certain point in time. But anyways, thank you very much for attending this piece, and moreover, we're going to have to say goodbye, because this is the last time that I might ever do anything with the T-Rex Transporter. So, special thanks and shout out to a subscriber of mine from England, whom actually got their hands on this when I uploaded this to eBay. And now that my duties here are complete, I'll be shipping this guy off all the way out there, and we'll see if the adventures of the T-Rex Transporter, at least in my own collection, gets to continue on from here on out. So, I'll see you guys with more content, and as always, make sure to do the 5 things that I usually announce at the end of each video.